Hello everyone. UFC 322 just ended. This was a crazy eventful card. So many amazing fights. Let's get into it. Let's not waste any more time. Let's start off with Viacheslav Borschev versus Matheus Camilo. I have some thoughts on this fight actually. This was the first fight on the card, and honestly, to me, it seemed like Viacheslav Borschev was actually winning. And I can say this also because I picked Matheus Camilo, so it was good for my picks, but I felt like the only thing that Camilo really did in this fight was get some takedowns. But even then, they weren't like the most impressive, in my opinion. Like, yes, it took up some control time, but I feel like Borschev was kind of outdoing him on the feet. You could literally tell that Matheus was a few levels behind Viacheslav on the feet. So I'm not exactly sure why Slava won this by decision, by unanimous decision also. Maybe there's something that I did not see, but I mean, I also understand. I feel like Matheus Camilo is probably better for the UFC overall than Borschev, because Borschev is kind of a declining fighter, I would say. He's just been losing and losing and losing. So maybe that's the decision that was made. Anyhow, let's move on to the next one. Baisangur Susurkaev versus Erin McConico. I picked Baisangur Susurkaev, though the odds on this was crazy. He was like a minus 1200 favorite, and McConico was like a plus 750 underdog at the time of the fight. And honestly, the odds should have been way closer than that, because I don't think Baisangur looked that good. Honestly, I don't think he looked that good. McConico was kind of landing on him. I feel like Baisangur was trying to do that same flashy thing that he's tried in his previous fight. So I'm surprised he didn't really learn from it. But I'm glad that, like, with each round that ended, it seems that his corner had a talk with him and he came back stronger. That's one thing I will say. Is like round one, Baisangur looked like a boy. And I guess his corner talked to him and was like, "What are you doing, dude? Lock in." So he did look better with each round, and in round 3 he was able to get that KO that made Erin McConico lose all of his balance. He it was a bit of a comical KO. If you guys enjoy watching like comical KOs, you can rewatch that fight, or at the end of it at least. But yeah, I mean, I guess it was a good win for Baisangur. He was winning slowly. It was kind of the same thing in his other fight, that he slowly started looking better. That's kind of what happened here. I think his corner is probably responsible for that. But yeah, I guess that's probably the price that you pay being such a young fighter, because I think he's like 24 and probably hasn't checked his ego fully. He needs to have more talks with Hamza about that, I guess. Anyways, let's move on to the next one. Angela Hill versus Fatima Kline. I actually decided to walk away from this fight because my neighbors were having a birthday party and my friend was supposed to DJ there. So I decided to walk away for like the 20 minutes between the Baisangur Susurkaev fight and the end of this one, which was very regrettable because my viewership actually was climbing and I left right when it like hit good numbers. I'll pull it up on screen. And then I only realized this after when I ended my live and I saw the analytics and I was like, oh, why did I do that? I like shoot myself in the foot sometimes without realizing it. For some reason, I will just self-sabotage myself like that. Anyways, lesson learned. I watched parts of this fight afterwards. It seemed like Fatima Kline was just outdoing Angela Hill, which is amazing to see. Also, Fatima Kline was wearing a shade of purple that I haven't seen in UFC outfits before. Anyhow, Angela Hill, she's 40 years old, guys. I think she's starting to show it, guys. She's starting to show it. And also Fatima Kline is climbing in this direction and Angela Hill's going in this direction. So like, you know, that's basically how this fight went. From what I've seen, I kind of skimmed through it a bit. Fatima Kline was just more dominant overall. But yeah, I think everybody picked her to win. Solid fight. Let's move on to the next one. Pat Sabatini versus Chepe Mariscal. I picked Pat Sabatini, and I'm actually really happy with this pick because it kind of went exactly how I had predicted it. So if you watch my predictions, good for you. Good for you. You got some accurate insights. I predicted for Pat Sabatini to basically crawl on Chepe Mariscal's back and be extremely difficult to shake off. that is exactly what happened. Pat Sabatini is so relentless. It's so interesting because everyone knows Chepe Mariscal to be this relentless fighter. But for some reason, Pat Sabatini is not known as such, even though he was even more relentless than Chepe Mariscal. It's actually amazing to me that Pat Sabatini is the first opponent that Chepe Mariscal wasn't able to like reverse. You know what I mean? Because I feel like Chepe Mariscal was usually able to kind of outmuscle everybody else. Not Pat Sabatini though, not with that rock climber's back, yo. So yeah, Pat Sabatini came through, absolutely delivered. And I feel like it's like early in the fight, he also had a bunch of cuts around his right eye. And he just kept grinding. Like blood was just flowing into his eyeball. He kept pushing through. I think that was like in round 2 and 3 he was experiencing that. Yeah. But yeah, I think Pat Sabatini's a dog of a fighter. And the amazing thing about him too is that he always found moments to do damage. Like when he was in control, he didn't just stop there. He kept going and pushing it further and harder. So I super respect that. He, again, has one of the craziest builds I've ever seen, not even just on a fighter, but on any human. Like, I don't know how you have to train to look like that. But impressive win for Pat Sabatini. He's the first person that made Chepe Mariscal look levels below him like that. So, that I've seen in a while at least. I'm a Chepe Mariscal fan. I think he's an awesome fighter too. Anyways, let's move on to the next one. Daukaus versus Gerald Meerschaert. Ugh. Guys, I mean, I think everyone picked Daukaus, but before seeing the weigh-in, I actually did think Gerald had a bit of a chance. But for some reason, when I looked into his eyes at the weigh-in, I had this realization that CTE has begun tearing this man's life up, because I don't know, sometimes you can tell when a person is losing themselves in their eyes, you know. And for some reason, that's the sensation I got from looking into Gerald Meerschaert's eyes. It was a little bit sad. And yeah, Daukaus knocked him down pretty quickly. I thought we were going to get a KO, but he just chose to choke him out instead. Knocked him down within like, what was it, like 30 seconds or something like that? It was very, very, very quick. And then he just choked him out. Very simply, very quickly. Yeah. Solid win for Daukaus. But at the same time, I feel like Gerald Meerschaert is also just completely washed at this point. I don't know. That's what it feels like. Unfortunately, I just think that for some reason, it seems like something happened to him and he's not the same. He's not the same that he used to be. So I think it's actually time for him to retire. Anyways, that was the end of the early prelims. It was very solid. We got every single fight on this card, on the prelim card, correct. Anyhow, let's move on to the next one, guys. Malcom Wellmaker versus Ewing. Everybody underestimated Ewing. Everybody thought that Malcom Wellmaker was going to KO him. Well, not really, actually. The odds, now that I'm looking at them here, were closer than the Cody Haddon fight. Malcom Wellmaker just displayed a clear lack of conditioning, I would say. Yeah, like, didn't have the cardio, didn't have the power, didn't have the pressure. All of these things that Ewing presented. He kind of, Ewing kind of I was trying to figure out who he reminds me of. He reminds me of Drew Dober. Drew Dober, big head, square face, square jaw. Like, he kind of does look like Drew Dober. And in a way, he fights like him too. But I would say his fight IQ is actually better than Drew Dober. Anyhow, he basically just outclassed Malcom Wellmaker. Like, Malcom Wellmaker looked like a cocky teenager in there, a little bit. Not gonna lie, that's the vibe that I got. Ewing just had the better counters. He was just more precise overall. And I think it's very impressive, the fact that he took this fight on such short notice. What was it, like a couple days notice? To be able to put on a performance like that as an underdog, I don't know. Super cool. I feel like I haven't even seen Ewing ever before. Like, where did he come from? That was, I think this would have been the only fight I got wrong. But anyways, yeah. Let's move on to the next one, guys. Erin Blanchfield versus Tracy Cortez. I don't understand Tracy Cortez. I don't understand her whole thing, her whole approach. She showed up to this fight again with fake eyelashes, and for some reason these ones looked more disabling than the ones from the last fight with Rose. I almost feel like I couldn't quite tell. I know you guys don't know this about women's fake eyelashes, but there's 2 types you can get. There's the fake eyelash strip that Tracy had on last fight with Rose, the one that flew off. And then there's also lash extensions. And lash extensions are the ones that they individually glue onto your eyelashes. So like they just attach single pieces of eyelashes to your eyelashes with glue also. But I feel like that would ensure them staying on better. So maybe that was her idea, that they wouldn't fall off or that anything would happen to them. Priorities, you know what I mean? Priorities. Meanwhile, Erin Blanchfield started just kicking her ass, taking her down, looking good. Like, Tracy Cortez had a pretty okay first round. Like, she was landing her 1-2s, she was landing her knees. It seemed like she was getting into a flow, and then she kind of ran out of gas and got out-muscled by Erin Blanchfield, who just took over, who had clearly the better training. Another thing, too, like, Tracy was it at the end of round 1 or 2? Erin landed a really good combo and then 2 elbows. And something happened to Tracy's eyelashes. I think it was at the end of round 1. I couldn't tell if her eyelashes shifted from that, because regardless of if they were extensions or the eyelash strip, getting hit like that would shift them. And I can't imagine how much that would irritate her eye too. Her eyes were literally red before the fight even. So it makes me feel like she did get the extensions. Again, I don't understand. Like, I feel like Tracy Cortez could be a better fighter, and she just chooses to stay where she's staying and prioritize other things. I don't fully get it. I feel like if I was in a sport where I could win first place, why would I choose to linger around in the middle? I don't know. That's kind of what I feel about Tracy Cortez, is she just chooses to linger in the middle when I feel like she could do better. I feel like she could. But her priorities are just not in the right place. And I feel like that's why she'll never be a top level fighter. I don't know. Like, she won't get to the top, you know? Anyways, let's go to the next fight, guys. Roman Kopylov versus Gregory Rodrigues. I picked Gregory Rodrigues. Solid pick. Gregory Rodrigues did not gas out this time, guys. And I think actually that's mostly because he was fighting Roman, who doesn't have the best cardio himself, I would say. And another thing too is Gregory Rodrigues usually starts off the first round really intensely, but I think he paced himself a little bit better this time around. Roman just looked a couple steps behind. I had predicted that he wouldn't be able to handle the pressure so much, and that's kind of what happened. He couldn't quite get into a flow. He couldn't get his own thing going, and I kind of saw that previously in the Paulo Costa fight, because Paulo Costa did look pretty sharp, and I noticed that immediately. Roman needs to fight a fighter who matches his rhythm, otherwise he will struggle. So that's what happened here. I actually expected more grappling from Gregory, because I figured Roma would even do better on the feet, but there wasn't much regarding takedowns. I feel like at some point RoboCop was like, I don't even really need to do that. So yeah, Gregory Rodrigues just won his way to a decision very clearly. And it was just a couple steps ahead of Roma the whole time. The whole time he was ahead. He was ahead with his big shiny head. Anyways, let's move on, guys. Nickal versus Rodolfo Vieira. Honestly, I'll just say it, even though it makes me cringe a little bit because we've all been hating on Nickal, but he had a good performance, guys. He looked good. He looked like he was well prepared. I thought this was going to be a closer fight. He made Rodolfo Vieira look like one of those lesser skilled Brazilian guys. Like, I don't want to say Vitor Petrino, but like you know what I mean? Like, just not as good, okay? I also thought that, like, physically Rodolfo Vieira would be more of a challenge, but he really wasn't. And Bo Nickal actually did pretty well on the feet. Actually, most of this fight was spent on the feet, which was surprising to me. Surprising to see Bo Nickal do this well on the feet. And not only that, but this fight ended with Bo Nickal shooting his shin at Rodolfo Vieira's chin and knocking him out. Knocking him out completely. He was on the ground for a while. Bo Nickal did that. Who would have thought? Who would have thought Bo Nickal had it in him to actually finish a fight with a KO? A head kick KO? What are you talking about? Yeah, pretty crazy. I'm glad he came back with such a performance, actually, because maybe it seems he did take all of the internet shit talking him to heart. I like that, actually. Sometimes bullying someone pays off if they take that information as feedback and do better. So I love that for Bo Nickal. I feel like people won't be making fun of him the same way that they used to, which is good for him. He earned some respect amongst the MMA community now. Anyways, let's move on to the main card now, guys. That was the last fight on the prelims. And on the main card, Beneil Dariush versus Benoit Saint-Denis. This was like the quickest finish on this card. Benoit Saint-Denis, I think, is kind of known for his explosive starts. And I guess Beneil Dariush tried to have one of his own. But Benoit Saint-Denis was kind of on it, very focused. I feel like this is a part of his secret service or special service training, whatever he was doing in France. Just being good at these short bursts of explosive, offensive moments, if that makes sense. Because yeah, Beneil Dariush tried to pressure him, and Benoit Saint-Denis countered that so quickly and just knocked him out in like 10 seconds. I don't know how quick it was, actually. I feel like I want to check. Dude, it was 16 seconds. He finished him in 16 seconds. Amazing. But yeah, Beneil Dariush, again, is known to be more of a technical dude. Some would say he's getting old, but I also feel like when you're that technical, you're not always like locked in a survival kind of way, which I feel like Benoit Saint-Denis was, and I think that served him pretty well. Technique is good and all, but when you can't unlock your adrenaline effectively, sometimes you're gonna lose. So, like, it felt like Benoit was approaching this as a war, and Dariush was approaching this as a fight, like just a sport versus like a real life war, I mean, hey, Benoit's nickname is literally God of War. So, anyways, let's move on to the next one. Leon Edwards versus Carlos Prates. Leon Edwards, our favorite cowardly disappointer. What was his game plan, man? Leon literally pulled a fucking Bilal. Leon fought this fight the same way that Bilal fought JDM. Leon was like, you know what? I'm actually not a grappler, but I'm gonna take you down. Why? Nobody knows. Because I will. So in the first round, Leon actually ended up taking Carlos down. I guess Carlos was also confused. He was like, bro, what are you doing? What are you doing here? This is not your thing. Anyways, he took him down, couldn't really do anything with the actual takedown though. Like, that's the thing. It's like, okay, good, you took him down. What's the plan now? There was no plan. Okay, interesting. And the universe rewarded him in round 2 by making him pay for his stupidity. He got KO'd straight in the face, dude. He ate like one of these shots from Carlos Prates like right here and got like the consciousness knocked out of him. I swear, the way he fell, it was like also one of these comical KOs. You could see the consciousness leaving his eyes as he was hitting the ground. Also, this is neither here nor there, but it was kind of like evident that Leon Edwards had a bald spot that looked like it was growing in size, and one of you said in the comments, bald spot dead instead of headshot dead. I thought that was funny. And also, like, yeah, I feel like this was like a bad loss for Leon because He only had that moment in the first round with his takedowns. When I said that Leon approached this fight the same way that Belal tried to approach his fight with JDM, it was the fact that Belal tried to strike with JDM, and it's like, what are you doing? That's not your thing. You didn't train that for as long as JDM did. JDM's not out here trying to take you down, dude. Like, you got to do your thing that you know will bring you the win, dude. You got your career on the line. I don't know. Anyways, but I think Belal just got cocky and let his ego get the best of him. So lesson learned: don't let your ego get the best of you. Not only is Leon a bit of a cowardly fighter, but he's also apparently driven by his ego, unfortunately, which made him lose this fight, I think, in a worse way than he could have. Anyways, I mean, I still thought he was going to get KO'd, so at least he survived the first round, if that means anything. Let's move on to the next one, guys. Sean Brady versus Michael Morales. Oh my god, this fight went exactly the way I predicted it to go. As some of you know, I actually do my research for these fights because I want to give you guys the most accurate predictions of what I think is going to happen. And for this fight, I had predicted for Michael Morales to win by KO because I noticed from watching back both their previous fights that, yes, Sean Brady is really good. He brings the pressure, he brings the durability, he brings the grind, and he can wear his opponents down, but he lacks the focus and he lacks the presence. And this is everything that Michael Morales has. This was my exact prediction. This is what I said. Michael Morales is not going to let himself get taken down because he will see the takedown coming. I've seen him do this, by the way. First of all, he also has the reach advantage, which I think is very important for a striker like him, meaning he never has to get in too close to his opponent and be in a dangerous position. And yeah, this fight ended in round 1. Guess what? Sean Brady could not match anything Morales was throwing at him. He could not counter. He couldn't get a takedown. He couldn't lock in. He lacked the presence. I don't know if you would call that even fight IQ. It's just a clear lack of presence for me. That's why I think Michael Morales will get to a high level, because I made this example in my live. One of my friends had told me one time when we were crossing a river and trying to not slip off the rocks into the water. My friend said to me, if you're present, you will not make a mistake. You won't slip. The only time you make a mistake is when you're not focused, when you're not present, when you're not focused on the one thing you should be doing, which is making sure your foot lands on the other rock. And Michael Morales has an amazing ability of just being present. You can feel it, you can see it. He doesn't miss a moment. That's what makes him so good. And yeah, that's just something Sean Brady couldn't match with any of his strength training or his cardio training. I understand all of these things are important and valuable too. But again, against a fighter like Michael Morales, it's not enough. So that was my prediction. That was literally my prediction. It went exactly that way. And I'm very happy about that. So anyhow, let's move on to the next one, guys. Oh my, the co-main and the main. Okay, guys. The co-main and the main, both 5-round fights, both went all the way. Both felt like the same fight. But anyways, let's begin with Valentina Shevchenko versus Zhang Weili. I picked Zhang Weili. Now listen, I was really hyping myself up about this one because we all know how amazing Zhang Weili is. We all know how amazing Valentina is. I thought this would be a closer fight. But at the same time, in the back of my head, I thought to myself, I wonder if Valentina is just going to do the same thing to Zhang Weili as she does to everyone else. And unfortunately, that's what happened. I say unfortunately because I really wanted to see what Zhang Weili would look like at flyweight, and she looks small. She looks small. She's 5'4", but she looks like she's 5'3" out there. She couldn't really even land her strikes. She never closed the distance effectively, and I think if she tried to, she would have just gone taken down. So yeah, she missed like so many of her strikes. She didn't even attempt to get takedowns herself, which I feel like could have been maybe more pivotal for her. I don't know why she didn't attempt any takedowns herself. She could have attempted one because she got taken down a lot I feel like maybe she could have tried once. I know maybe it could have cost her the fight. She lost anyways, so I don't know. But yeah, Valentina did the same thing that she does in every other fight of hers. Takedown, control. At least Valentina wasn't able to put her in the crucifix and then just start elbowing her to death. So Zhang Weili defended well enough. I think her defense was good, but yeah, she definitely looked worried at the end of the first round, especially. It's like she knew, oh no, I didn't train for this. I didn't prepare for this. At the end of the fight, when they had the fighter interviews, Zhang Weili just looked like a sad child, you know, like a child that lost the competition. I don't know. I was like, man, I really wanted to see her win, but it's okay. I still like Valentina, and it was a very well-deserved win for her. Regardless of whether you thought it was boring or not, I don't know. I feel like I can find enjoyment out of watching someone display their skill and ability in like what they had developed over decades. Things don't always have to be exciting for you to enjoy them. I think that's what I think. I think there's many ways to enjoy something without it being flashy or intense. And I feel like these other fighters in the UFC, or anyone who's complaining about this fighting style, is just saying that right now because others haven't found an effective way to counter such a fighter, such a technique. But I feel like as MMA evolves, we're going to start seeing fighters from all around the world pick up on what these Soviet grapplers are doing. You know what I mean? So I feel like in the next 10 years, we're going to see a much more evolved version of MMA, as it's already evolved, you know, so much from what it used to be. So anyhow, let's move on, guys, to the last one, the main event. Della Maddalena versus Islam Makhachev. I picked Islam, guys. I picked Islam. And actually, after the Valentina fight, it made me even more confident about picking him because I was like, oh, this is like basically copy-paste in a way, you know? Same thing's going to happen here. Islam's going to control this guy for however long. I predicted a decision. That's what happened. The most surprising thing to me was how good Islam looked on the feet too. I would say Jack's best moments in this fight were in round 1 before he got taken down because he still had some confidence, but after getting taken down so many times and having absolutely no answers, he kind of lost his edge on the feet. Like, he didn't look as slick. He looked like his leg was injured. It was hurting. Like, there was a point where Islam low kicked him and he looked like he was really suffering from that. And I don't know, there was just nothing that Islam was doing on the feet that was especially impressive, I would say. At least like from what I was expecting to see. And yeah, Islam just kind of controlled the fight for 5 rounds straight. Got the takedowns, didn't let him get back up. There were a few moments where JDM did get back up. The defense was good, but honestly, it didn't last long and he got taken down again shortly after. Another thing too, after the first round, or like at the end of the first round, there was a moment where JDM was on the back and Islam was kind of on top of him and he started kicking him in the face, but then the bell rang and I think those were like illegal kicks, but Islam looked visibly upset by that and like, oh, that was not fair. Why did that happen? Why did that slide? And I feel like for some reason, after that, he just started fighting with much less remorse. In the sense that I feel like his attitude shifted to, I don't care how this fight looks at all, even at this point. I'm just here to get the win. Not that that wasn't his attitude to begin with, but I feel like he really just leaned into that after that. I also feel so bad for JDM because he looked so sad off the back, guys. Like, genuinely, as the fight progressed, you could see his hopes and dreams being crushed. And the look on his face, like, you could tell he was having a little crisis there. Honestly, it was a little bit heartbreaking. Just a little bit. And that's kind of how I felt in the Zhang Weili fight too. Like, it was kind of heartbreaking seeing a fighter that you really like almost getting demoralized. That's what it felt like. Seeing a fighter that you really like getting demoralized. And I feel like that's what this Soviet martial arts training or mindset is like, don't let yourself get demoralized. Don't let yourself feel that shame. And I feel like maybe this is what the fighters need to adjust for. I could be totally tripping because I'm not a fighter myself, but I do understand a bit of the Soviet mindset, you know? So yeah. Anyhow, guys, Islam is now a double champ. That's pretty amazing. I feel like he is one of the GOATs now. I feel like also the best pound for pound champion. I mean, that was amazing what he did. That was amazing what he did. Like, regardless of how you view it, if you thought it was boring or whatever you thought about it, he made JDM look like a boy. He crushed JDM's dreams. He literally turned JDM's serious focused face to a sad, frowning, disappointed, crushed, demoralized face. I don't know, dude. I feel like there's something about that. When a fighter is able to crush you just like that mentally, it's a mental... It's like, it almost feels like this control style of fighting is mentally crushing. Soul crushing. Mentally crushing. And like, yeah, very interesting, I would say, overall. Anyhow, guys, those are all my thoughts. It was still an amazing... I think it was a really awesome card. The energy was really good from everybody involved. I appreciate everyone that donated on my stream today. I know a lot of you guys had good wins. You guys placed good bets, so happy for you. Overall, I would say that this card delivered. So, you know, can't be too upset. It's just interesting that the last two fights felt like the same fight for an hour. That was an hour. So I definitely understand what some of you guys mean when you say that, oh, it's boring, because, like, okay, after an hour of that, it's a little, you know, it's a little excessive, but still, I think we must figure out how to enjoy these fights in a different way, and also we must figure out how to counter this. We must figure out what it is that these fighters are doing to make them succeed like this. We must unlock their secrets. Anyhow, guys, thank you for watching this recap. If you like the videos I make, please hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe and drop a comment in the comments. Let me know what you thought of the fights. Let me know what you thought of my thoughts, and let me know if you want to see any specific kind of videos from me in the future. I do kind of want to upload a few more things on my second channel before I completely decide that I want to move over that style of content to a whole different unrelated channel. But yeah, thanks again for watching, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.